GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
So, Fat Man, you fucker. Stop drinking Hennessy.
I'm not. I'm very comfy in my heated massage chair right now. I'm old.
He's putting over the massage chair. Well, we can talk about that more on the wrestling show. Welcome, everyone. This is Sleazy.
This is the Fat Man.
Holy shit. Welcome, everyone, to another wonderful episode. Tonight, we have a special guest. Somebody who hasn't been on the show in...
About 5 months.
Has it been that long? 5 months? 6 months? Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Canning is with us.
Thank you for having me back on short notice.
Yay, Travis is back. Yeah.
I love you guys. You bring me on, let me kind of roll the dice and, treat me very good. I'm happy to do that.
Well, bad news for you is that we don't have a show to cover. So we're going to be talking about...
I haven't watched any of them.
Oh, well, good news then.
I was like, I'll watch Raw. I watched the first 45 minutes of it and had to turn it off. It was so bad. I'm just like, yeah, I can't do this.
I don't think...
I watched hockey last night instead of Raw.
Yeah. I don't think I've watched an episode, a weekly episode in months. So
I can't say that. I do go through phases with it, but what happens with me is WWE has this really shitty tendency of doing repeat matches way too much. And I don't mind repeat matches either. But it's almost contrived and seems lazy. And I know they're, like, we talked about this before out the air, they're trying to get content out there and they're producing a lot of it, but it just, for me, to sit down and watch Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre in the main event just one more time when there was no real reason for it. Like, Bobby Lashley had a definitive victory at WrestleMania. There's no real story to be had there going forward. They're just placating fans until they try to get to SummerSlam. And I think that's where AEW in general is trying to win the battle, because as much as their product is shitty, it's very raw, and it's blatant that they're actually trying to do something, and it's unpredictable. And as much as it's not polished, it seems better because you're not getting the same thing all the time. So just interesting how I look at both of those two examples. I cannot watch Raw anymore in whole set because I see that way too much. It's blatant complacency.
yeah, and we're going to be talking a lot about WWE and AEW a lot tonight, mainly because tonight we're going to be doing a what if. If you haven't listened to our first what if episode, we talked through a particular scenario. What if something different happened than what normally did? Tonight's what if is, what if back in the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, instead of the Young Bucks re-signing their 2-year contracts with Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, they went to WWE. So we'll start off with this. We have the Bucks in WWE. Where do they land?
NXT. That would have been the perfect place for them at that time, especially. I think they probably would have been put through the ringer in the Performance Center too, to iron out psychology and some move placements, and just for WWE, put their WWE stamp on to make themselves feel good. So that would have been a thing. I don't think it would have been an AJ Styles situation where you just go to the main roster, because AJ Styles is exceptional. But there's a lot of guys who are exceptional that also went through NXT, and the Young Bucks are not as good as them. I'm talking like Samoa Joes, Bobby Roodes, those type of guys. they all went there before they hit the main roster. I firmly believe, specifically during that time, that they would have went there.
Fat Man?
Yeah, I agree with Travis. Wait, what? I agree with Travis. No, NXT would have been where they would landed.
Okay, so I kind of agree with that. I don't think there are two options for the Young Bucks at that point. Really, do they stick around in NXT for a few years, so that in 2021, in this alternate timeline, we're still seeing the Young Bucks in NXT, or do you think they would have made it to the main roster by now?
I think they would have been there about a year, maybe. WWE at that time too was trying to reestablish the tag team division a little bit, and they were still not that they don't push the New Day now, but the New Day was a big thing back then, and they were hot, and the Usos were around, and they were hot, doing great things. I think that with a little bit of direction, that the Young Bucks would definitely fit in well on the main roster in the tag division. There's no doubt about it.
So, one of the things that I was looking up was what kind of tag teams were in there at that point. So you had the Authors of Pain. They were still technically NXT. You had obviously you had Dawkins and Montez Ford were still in NXT. They were a big tag team at that point. Do you believe that at that point you would have still had enough of a division in NXT to really get a tag division going there?
Yes. You had Dawkins, and they were down there, but they weren't a big team down there.
Their team was there too.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Revival.
Yep.
You had DIY.
Yeah, they could have done a show just with tag teams alone. If they really wanted to.
You had American Alpha. You had Authors of Pain.
How about them?
You had NXT probably had the best tag division in the world at that point. So yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And Enzo and Cass, just throw that in there.
Oh, fuck off.
But no, let's be fair. If you're talking about dynamics, they had a range of styles that they could have wrestled with. And Enzo and Cass did have a different style that they probably could have meshed with. So, I mean, they had tons of options, every different style tag team that was going through NXT at that time.
So here's one of the big questions that I had when we started talking about this is you have the Young Bucks. They're well known as not just as a tag team, but as a stable size group. Usually, you had Matt Rushmore, you had the Bullet Club. They're all part of those major factions. Even in Ring of Honor before they left, they were part of 6-man tags with Marty Scurll and Cody Rhodes. Is this where the Undisputed Era becomes important to the Young Bucks rather than Red Dragon?
No.
Because Adam Cole came in August of 2017. The Young Bucks would have already been there at that point.
Yeah. I kind of disagree with that because I think that's kind of irrelevant. The Young Bucks are a specific style. I promised myself I wouldn't shit on them. So my descriptors and adjectives I'm going to use are probably, I'm going to stay away from the inappropriate ones just because I want it to be a positive conversation. And I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks. But
really, you don't say?
Because I'm trained over the years to accept the WWE style a little more. With that being said, I'm so familiar with it that I know for a fact that if the Young Bucks went to WWE, they wouldn't have stuck them with a stable. The WWE would want them to sink or swim just to placate their own egos. So I felt like they probably would have tried to make the Young Bucks stay afloat as a tag team, just a tag team.
And nothing more.
Not necessarily nothing more, but like they wouldn't be just a tag team. They would probably get a good run and get good pushes and stuff like that. But I don't think that they would be able to surround themselves with people who were either more popular than them or better than them to elevate themselves either as a worker or get themselves some extra attention right away. I think that they probably would have seen if the Young Bucks could actually hang on their own.
Okay. So do you believe the Undisputed Era becomes what they are now despite that?
Yes.
I absolutely do, because they had all that momentum coming in from Ring of Honor. As soon as Adam Cole showed up, there was like that was hot before it even happened in NXT. And you can tell because when Adam Cole actually showed up, the place like blew up, right? It was it was something that was bubbling. They were waiting for it to happen. It was automatic.
Didn't Red Dragon debut that same night too? Just earlier in the night?
I don't remember.
I actually don't know. I should probably look that up.
Yeah, I think they did.
Kyle O'Reilly. He debuted July 12th, 2017. So he was in the company for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
It wasn't the same like plot of the storyline though. It was a build, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a build.
So it was similar to Scott Hall, Nitro. Later on, Kevin Nash shows up, and they build towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the big build wasn't them as coming together as a group. It was Cole's here, holy shit, and now they're together. And then when Fish got hurt, that's when Roddy came into the group, and they had that run with O'Reilly and Roddy as the tag champs for a while.
Yep.
So there was one big thing that we kind of threw out there when we talked about this off air. And the big push for NXT UK was the fact that they had a shit ton of British wrestlers that they're trying to grab out of contracts with pretty much everyone in Germany, UK, Ireland, whatever. Would the Young Bucks be the start of the catalyst for NXT Japan?
No.
Why not?
Why would they be?
I feel like that...
Because they wrestled in Japan?
It's not just wrestled in Japan, got really popular in Japan.
Right.
So?
I feel like... was Nakamura there then?
Nakamura was with the company. Yeah.
Yes.
So I felt like if they were going to do that, that would have been the catalyst more so than anything else.
I would agree to an extent, but here's the other reason why I bring it up, is that because the Young Bucks come in, where does that leave Kenny Omega? Because at the same time, Kenny Omega's contract was kind of in flux. And there was a possibility that Omega would sign along with the Young Bucks to NXT.
This was in 2018.
2017.
I mean...
They signed the 2-year contract. No. They signed the 2-year contracts in December 2016. They were up in December of 2018.
Okay.
I honestly, I'm not... If it happens later on in life, I'll eat shit. But, I don't see Kenny Omega ever going to WWE. He didn't want to be there when he was going through WWE developmental. He didn't want to finish it Deep South. He didn't want to do any of that stuff. He's always been the anti WWE. I don't think he would have signed one way or the other. He might have had conversations with people because let's be honest, if you're on the phone with Triple H and he gives you some sort of ridiculous amount of money that's impossible to say no, well, fuck it. Maybe I'll go there. But I don't think he would really want to go there. It's just an option. He seems to me like he's one of those people that'll have the conversation just to see where his value is versus where he thinks it is. So he can go back other places and have a certain value in that regard. But I don't ever see him go to WWE. Not ever, 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 ever.
And even so, say he did sign with WWE, I don't think they would do NXT Japan with those guys. I think they do it with Japanese wrestlers because the whole point of NXT to begin with was to develop. So I'd say Young Bucks would go to NXT. Omega in 2016 would also probably go to NXT.
Yeah, it would be the beginning of 2017. Would be
He'd still go to NXT.
So the reason why I bring that up is that you're right around the same time that Ibushi was working the Cruiserweight Championship, the Cruiserweight Classic. So let's say for the sake of argument, and I know this is kind of an aside, But let's say
Dukes did that.
what's that?
Was it the same year Tyson Dukes was in it?
I believe so. It was the first year they did it.
Yeah, that was the year Tyson Dukes.
So
Okay.
Perkins won it.
Yes.
But the point I'm trying to make is that, let's say for the sake of argument, Ibushi comes to WWE in that respect. That would bring Omega. You have the Bucks there. Things start changing real quick. You take a couple of minor changes in the timeline. Can you get Kenny Omega into WWE? I would say yes. And you have Knock. You'd have Omega. You'd have the Bucks. You'd have, I don't know when, Styles and
2016.
was that the beginning of 2016? So they would have been there for a year. That's a shit ton of Japanese stars right there.
Doesn't matter.
You can easily start a brand new promotion.
Does not matter.
It does. It absolutely does.
I have a great pick. I think that it actually does. I'll tell you why. WWE is very bad at establishing people who are from different ethnicities, different cultural backgrounds outside of white Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Everything often turns out stereotypical. I feel like they probably could, now that I'm thinking about it, use those guys who are over in that market to establish that culture if they wanted to. But I think that they would focus more on the stereotypes of that culture because they're fucking ignorant. I think that I don't think they would even think about using a white person to establish themselves in the Asian market. But I think that they will probably have a better opportunity to do it just based on communication and putting feelers out there, because Kenny Omega, for example, is fluent in Japanese, but he speaks English. That's his first language. So I think if they were smart about it, they could do it, because they had the reverse problem here with people like Asuka. I know she's over as fuck, but like one of the big things that they've had are issues with her and Io Shirai and things like that is their communication. But if they were able to do the reverse of that, knowing that they had people that are established here somewhat, also established over there, even no matter what culture they were, I think that it would work. And I think you could use someone like Kenny Omega for that, because he is safe in that regard. He can communicate here, he can communicate over there. They send the Miz over to like Asia to do fucking interviews in China and Japan, and he speaks English over there because he doesn't know the language. But good on him for wanting to do it. They have a translator. It's all great. But to put someone like Kenny Omega in a position like that, I think that would be extremely valuable. And I think that they could do it just from a promotional standpoint to get it off the ground. I think that would work. Would they do it? I don't know. I think they're too racist and stereotypical, but I don't
think they're. Well, I don't know about the racist stereotypical part. I don't think they'll do it, because why would you have Styles, Nakamura, Young Bucks, Omega over in Japan when 90% of your audience is American? Why wouldn't you focus on your U.S. TV shows?
I'm not saying you shouldn't, but this...
And then that's the argument I knew you were going to say, because you interrupted me. I was saying, but you're going to say you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were even thinking about doing an NXT Japan back then. They just started thinking about it like, what, 2019 last year?
I think they were thinking about it, and I think a lot of things pandemic threw a monkey wrench into it.
Well, that's what I said, 2019, not 2016. So that's the thing. Like, Omega probably wouldn't have been the perfect person for it, but I don't think they do it.
I disagree with that.
I don't think they do it.
I 100% disagree with that, because they started NXT UK in December 2016.
Yeah, UK.
So they're absolutely were thinking about branching out into other markets.
Yeah, probably not Japan right now, though.
Why wouldn't you?
I think that they totally...
You're an Asian mark. That's why you're thinking of it. But no, you're
absolutely not. Though. Where's the second biggest wrestling
audience
right now?
It's always been in Japan.
Yeah. Why would you not try and get into that market? And if you had the right talent...
How do you know they're not in? How do you know what their TV ratings are over in Japan?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. How do you know what their TV ratings are in Japan?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't matter, because there were no TV ratings in the UK.
How do you know?
How do you know?
You don't know. I don't know.
Exactly. That's my point.
And by the way, there were always TV ratings in the UK.
And there were always TV ratings in Japan,
they had
too.
TV ratings. WWE's never gotten good ratings in the UK. They've only had like a couple 100,000 viewers. It's not like anywhere near like the northern market or, the North American market or whatever.
Well, let me list all the people that were
into the market. They're already in the market.
They don't have an actual show.
A lot of intricacies with that too, man, because you got to consider.
So why don't they just do an NXT?
Right?
NXT India. They were in the Indian market. They flew Jinder Mahal out there to lose it.
They were going to, and then Rinka King came along.
Yeah.
Impact beat them to that. Ironically enough. But the thing is that...
Yeah, but the thing is that's different. You got to consider that Impact was very popular on YouTube, and India is a fucking YouTube country.
Yes, they are.
So, I mean, they're really ahead of the game compared to other countries on YouTube. That's all they watch over there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, here's one of the reasons why I think they would have done it is that we're not talking about the one person that would absolutely be able to run completely and easily there an entire promotion. That's Matt Bloom.
Yeah. He does know the business inside and out. I can't see why he wouldn't be able to do that. There's a lot of guys. Johnny Ace could fucking do it.
Yeah. There's a ton of people. And that goes back to what I had said before. There is a huge market in there because how many Gaijin wrestlers have gone over there and worked? Even indie guys go over there all the time and get huge pops. Fucking Brutes Van Slyke, Mr. Oneida, New York native, went to Wrestle One and got to work with fucking Great Muta.
Right.
And with all due respect to Brute, he's not exactly a household name in the United States, but they are craving Gaijins over there. And I think WWE would be a fool not to have a full-on brand there, especially with not just Gaijins that they know, but Gaijins that they don't know.
Well, honestly, I think that if you really want to look at it, they should be looking at markets all over the world in that same scenario because the way wrestling is going, it's very regionalized again because of the way there's almost like a virtual territory thing going on and how people receive media because the media sources are streamlining the content and every country has different rules and regulations on what they can air, when they can wear, how they can air it. So it's a very, the territories exist like right now, but people don't look at it that way because we have such an accessibility to content in various ways. But for the low end user who most people are on the internet now, the territory system is very much alive and well because of the way, the propaganda and everything, the politics are in each country for each social media outlet and how they distribute the content. They can't streamline it one way. So it has to be separate. So you're seeing like even WWE trying to branch out and do their own thing in other markets because they want to have control over certain things and they can't get them without being there. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not debating that they shouldn't do it now. What we're talking about, they should have done in 2016 and they were not going to do it in 2016.
They could have done it in 2016. I think they're more prepared now.
Yeah.
I think they're more prepared simply because the change in administration has happened. Obviously, Vince will always be there till he dies, but there have been a lot of changes in terms of executive officers in the company.
Those two CEOs,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because Vince didn't want them there because the CEOs basically rebranded the company to focus on wrestling talent, wrestling audience only. Mm-hmm. They did the over-the-top network thing, which is like a hardcore audience. And then they lost like 3 million viewers over the course of like 5 years when that network was out because all they did was focus on content for their hardcore fan. They signed up all these old fucking TNA guys that weren't getting anything more than a hardcore fan base at the time anyway. And that's what they started focusing on and started marketing. They never built a casual audience, and then those people just left. Right? So, yeah, they had to change. They had to. And this is what they're doing now. It's going to create a broad fan base for all of them. You might not see it in the TV ratings, formula, but you can see it on YouTube where they have billions and billions of shares and millions of followers, or probably more followers and subscribers than anything else.
I can actually give you the numbers. The number one ranking channel on YouTube right now is T-Series. They're an Indian-based music channel. They have 182 million subscribers. Number 2 is Cocomelon. Number 3 is PewDiePie. Number 4 is another Indian channel. Number 5 is some kids show. Number 6 is WWE. They have 76.8 million subscribers
On YouTube.
Right. They're almost to the point where outside of their major TV deals in the US, this is their single biggest money-making platform.
Yep.
Over any other TV deal they've signed in any other country.
Yeah, you had to consider it, like in the U.S. and in Canada, even in the market where we still watch it on TV. There's a newer audience that watches that content very differently. I was saying to you guys earlier, I had a friend of mine who told me he started watching. He's born in 1997. He started watching like mid 2000s as a kid, and he's never ever watched a full pay-per-view or a full show from start to finish. It's almost gone the way of, you know how you used to listen to an album years ago, start to finish, and now you just listen to a single. Wrestling's almost gone the same way in terms of like YouTube. There's a very small hardcore market that will listen to like or watch. So I mean, watch like wrestling start to finish now. Very small niche market. The rest of them are you watch a full match, watch clips, watch a couple little angles. Watch it in pieces and video clips on YouTube. They don't watch it whole set. It's almost the equivalent of there's two different markets for the same product now, like there is with music. You have the old analog, vinyl people who go back and listen to things like vinyl and listen to albums start to finish, like old school, or audiophiles who are really hardcore into it. Then you have people who are on Spotify listen to singles, and I think wrestling's the same way. You have people who are hardcore collectors, hardcore buy the WWE network, whatever, but you got all these casual fans across the world who are watching streamlined content, and it might not be the full value of what's being put out there.
Yeah. Fat Man?
Cool. I'm RVDing it tonight.
Excellent analysis.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm Nakamura-ing it tonight.
Definitely phoning it in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this was right around the time. Now I'm trying to make sure I have this correct. But Cody Rhodes is gone at this point. He's doing random stuff here, there, and everywhere. Where does Cody end up?
I think Cody still leaves.
Do you think he'd still be in the Indies? Do you think he would have signed with New Japan full time for a few years? Do you think he would have been?
I can see him taking some bookings over there. I don't know about a few years. Cody, to me, he's almost like an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
He would have found a way to do something himself. Honestly, I see if that was an option, if ever the stars didn't align the way they did for him when he left, worst case scenario, I think he probably would have ended up either probably being with Billy Corgan and NWA. Because that would be the closest to what he grew up with and what his father instilled into him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's why he
was trying to produce and move forward. I think he would have got his entrepreneurial juices out in that manner. I think that probably would have been the way he would have went, honestly. I'm not saying he wouldn't have went to Japan, but I think that's where he would have established himself.
Well, this kind of plays into my next question. Is that part of the reason why Ring of Honor lost a lot of people is they started losing the connection, the New Japan Ring of Honor connection. So they lost a lot of New Japan talent at that point. And then when the Bucks leave, to do their own thing, what does Ring of Honor stay where they are? Do they drop down? Does NWA actually make a revival with Cody kind of behind it?
I would say more along the lines of NWA. I think Ring of Honor is its own fucking thing. Like, it's to me, Ring of Honor is its own thing. It has the element of ECW, but it's not an ECW product, but it has an established fan base, or it did at the time, that probably had, at least at its peak, had a life cycle that it went through. It was going to come to an end anyway. I think that Ring of Honor went the way that they did with the Young Bucks and the New Japan and all that kind of stuff, because after the guys phase out, like Daniel Bryan and the Samoa Joes and the CM Punks and stuff like that, that fan base left too back then. They were still around, bubbling a little bit, but like it started to get smaller because that shelf life had just expired. And when Ring of Honor is the type of company that, in order to survive, they really had to reestablish their fan base again. Mm-hmm. But they didn't. They started focusing on other people's fan bases, and when they would get crowds, but when that talent wasn't there anymore, and New Japan took their talent back, or whatever the case may be, or they signed elsewhere, then it just left Ring of Honor in pieces. Which kind of sucks, because Ring of Honor is the ones that reared a catalyst to AEW. Mm-hmm. But and the worst part and this is what pisses me off about Ring of Honor, Sinclair Broadcasting is a billionaire company, just like the people behind that financially back AEW, just like WWE, just like Impact. They're all billionaire companies, but Sinclair does not give a shit about their product because they use it as simply just a place to fill content. They don't care if there's people in the audience. They don't care about having a big WrestleMania. They don't care about fucking ticket sales.
One of the most infuriating things I'd heard in recent memory, I don't remember when Kerry Silkin said this, but he said, and I quote, that they didn't need New Japan. They didn't need the Young Bucks because they weren't draws. And that was absolutely not true for what they were doing. And I feel like that part of that was bitter grapes when they left, but in the same breath, that to have that mindset kind of shows what they were thinking at that time.
Well, let's call a spade a spade. You're dealing with billionaire companies, right? So they don't need the Young Bucks. And at the time, I know that they were big draws to a certain market, but like the reality is they weren't that big of a draw for what they wanted to use Ring of Honor for. Because they didn't care about ticket sales.
Yeah.
Right? And, if you don't care about ticket sales, and why would the Young Bucks want to go there? They literally made a name off of selling their merchandise to fans. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, I don't think that the Young Bucks were a draw for Ring of Honor, because I don't think that's what Ring of Honor wanted. So I'd like, if Ring of Honor wanted what the Young Bucks provided, they would absolutely be an asset in that regard at that level. But I just think that somewhere along the line, you got these billionaires, and they probably realize that they're relying on people. And they don't have to, because they're fucking billionaires. Yeah. And they're just like, these guys are replaceable. All the companies are doing it now. WWE does it. New Japan, I don't know if New Japan does it so much, but all the billionaire ones that I just listed off, they all do it. They all treat their wrestlers like plumbers. This plumber, I don't like this plumber, I'll just get another plumber.
Right, yeah.
So that's really where we're at with the billionaires that own the show. All the people who are working, they might be getting decent pay, but they're not valued the same way. They're all like pretty much replaceable at a certain level.
Right. So one last piece we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go into news and rumors. Obviously, if the Young Bucks go to WWE, there's no All In, right? There's no AEW. Would there be this resurgence of the independent wrestling in the United States the way it had gone, thanks to in part the Young Bucks pulling a lot of the weight over there?
I think Tony Khan would have put his hat in there somewhere with somebody. Going back to the other argument, this dude's a billionaire who just wants to throw his money around. Somebody is going to throw money at that. Maybe he, again, would have aligned with Billy Corgan. Maybe he would have, said, hey, Impact, can I buy this off you? I don't know. But I think Tony Khan would have eventually, because he was talking to people over the course of a couple of years, having weird meetings and stuff, right? So, and getting familiar with people and building relationships. So he'd been networking long before this. I just think the stars kind of aligned in that situation. I think Tony Khan would have been jumping into the game regardless. I don't know that it would have been AEW and All Elite and All In and whatever the case may be, but I do think some framework of that would have happened.
I don't.
Okay. You don't think there would have been another company?
Nope.
Do you think Khan would have bought a company?
Nope. I don't. Without the talent available, he has no company. Who's he going to sign?
It's a good question. Who does he sign?
I don't think he's buying Impact. I don't think he's buying NWA. He would want to start his own promotion. There'd be no talent for him to sign.
That's a fair point. I guess when I said that, though, I was looking at it from the analogy of what I just said. Wrestlers are treated like plumbers. You can get a certain amount of elite talent. It doesn't have to be the crew that ended up in All Elite. It could be a bunch of other people. I mean, like Carlito and Chris Masters have been on the Indies for years. They're popular. Mickey James was a free agent at the time, I believe, if you want to build a women's division around. There's a ton of options. They absolutely did not need. Tony Khan did not need people he ended up with to do what he did. And
I think he did. I 100% think he did.
Those specific people?
Yes.
Okay, because they keep just to call a spade. I'm not saying that those guys aren't valuable and that they didn't do what they did, because they did. The only person I think that probably could be a crossover there that maybe added some extra value would have been Cody. Just because of the hard-on that Tony Khan has for all the Dusty bookings and the old WCW shit and whatever the case may be. You know? So, I don't understand. Like, you think that there would be no other workers for Tony to use at his disposal if those guys don't do it?
Not to get a national TV deal, no.
You don't think Jericho on his own would have done that?
I don't think Jericho would go if there wasn't for the other ones, to be honest. If you want to be a mark, listen to this.
I'll agree with that. I think Jericho was in because he found a comfortable niche that he could sink his teeth into. But again, there's other workers out there that maybe he would have felt comfortable working with. It just, for me, I'm looking at it from a top-down perspective. Not that I'm a billionaire, but I can certainly see if you're a billionaire and you have the ability to pick and choose, you can literally pick anybody. If you have the financial backing to do something at that level, you can literally do whatever the fuck you want, at least for a period of time to get it off the ground, right?
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I just don't think without them, it wouldn't be called All Elite Wrestling for one.
No, it wouldn't. No, I'm not.
Well, yeah.
I'm
Something different.
Something different.
But at the same time, no offense to Carlito or Chris Masters, but I'm not going to TNT going, who's your top draw? Carlito? Nope. Fuck off.
Yeah, no, I understand that too. They did need a marquee guy, and they ended up getting Jericho. So the Stars did a lot in that regard. But
And I know Sleazy has worked with him, and I know you like him, but I don't see Cody Rhodes as that big of a star.
I don't either, but I'm just talking about get the indie crossover or the hardcore crossover just because of Cody's roots. He did have that appeal. I don't think he would have gotten them a deal on TNT per se. I think that happened by happenstance just because somebody knew somebody. But for me, when you're dealing with a bunch of hot indie guys, they have a ceiling until they have a bigger platform. The Young Bucks might be a slight exception to the rule because they found other avenues. But I mean, at the end of the day, they were all could have been like inserted, taken out, put in with other people. Especially if you're a billionaire and you're trying to lock people up with contracts and merch deals and shit like that. I mean,
I get that part. I just don't think he would do it without those talents there.
Maybe the process would have been different. I think he wanted to start a wrestling company. There's no doubt in my mind that
no, he probably wanted to start a wrestling company, and Cody found a money mark. I mean, they fed off each other. But at the same time, I don't think he would buy Impact. I don't think he would buy NWA, and without those particular talents involved, I don't think he would start it.
You know who I think they would buy? Because it would have ended just as All In would have happened otherwise. Lucha Underground. Their last episode aired March 18th of 2018, and they were already looking for funding. And honestly, Tony Khan is a money mark.
Yeah, and like to be honest with you, go back and look at the talent that were on the indie scene back at the time. Johnny Nitro or whatever the fuck his name is, John Morrison. Who was Johnny Mundo? Was he?
Yeah, he was Johnny Mundo there.
Yeah, so he was there. He was available. Chavo Guerrero was there. He was available. There was lots of talent.
Ricochet was there.
What?
Ricochet was there.
There's a ton of people.
Yeah.
I don't like. I respect that man's point. That those particular group of guys, the stars aligned, and they were really hot at the time. But I don't think it's something that couldn't have happened with other people. It probably just would have needed a lot longer to pick up steam. It would have been more of a slow burn as opposed to, you know what I mean?
I think the big question isn't that whether or not AEW specifically was happening. What the question is, when would another major company be in line to take on WWE in one way or another? Because the market was ripe for that. Because there was really one name, and it was WWE. There was nobody that was even coming close. Even Ring of Honor, while we considered that the de facto number 2 at that time frame, that 2015, 2016 era, and to a lesser extent, New Japan as well, they didn't have the TV deals. They didn't have the insurgents in the market as much as somebody who has literally billions to just throw at marketing, like Khan did. Part of the reason why they have any foothold at all is because they got the smarks, but they spent a lot of money marketing through TNT too. Mm-hmm. So,
no such thing as a smart. Anyway.
You know what I mean. Hardcore wrestling fans.
Yes.
I was trying to shorten it up. So let's talk about news and rumors. I think we've gone really deep in there. Nobody really wants to talk about Jack Swagger, so
no. What's the news and rumors with Jack Swagger?
Well, Jack Swagger was in both Lucha Underground and AEW.
Okay.
I was going to make the transition, but I decided against it.
Yeah, no, that's not important.
Love
Jack Swagger, not important.
His best gimmick was fucking whatchamacallit?
We the People?
We the People, yes.
I love that.
Sleazy.
Yes.
Ryback.
Oh boy, I love this.
Okay, let's start with Ryback. So Ryback, the smartest person in the room, of course, put out a Twitter poll asking where should he go next. And he listed a bunch of different things. The last option was retire. So at the end of the first poll, with 60% of the vote, was retire. So Ryback was like, fucking bots and shit, and somebody screwed with our poll. So we're going to do it again. Where should I go? AEW, NXT, WWE, Japan, whatever. Last option was retire. And with 64% of the vote, folks, they chose retire again. So, Ryback in his infinite wisdom, because, you know, he's a smart man, decides, okay, this is the last time. Whatever comes up, this is it. You know, we've gotten rid of most of the troll accounts that were saying retire. Here's the poll. Once again. I think it was nearly 70% last I looked. Said retire.
Yeah, so, Fat Man, you go first, because I'm eating up all your time here, and this is kind of your guys' show. I'll have my spew after.
Ryback sucks. He should retire. There's my take.
Yeah, so, I mean, the dude's a professional wrestler. He's been around for a few years. I don't know what he's doing now. I don't like the guy. You can't talk to him on Twitter, and he blocks you as soon as you disagree with him politely. But at the same time, he had to know the way the internet audience is. They're so, like, get your daggers out and be like, I'm convinced that most of those people couldn't give a shit whether he retires or not. I honestly don't think they care enough about him. But I think that a lot of them are just doing it for fun. I can't imagine any one human being who watches professional wrestling being enough invested in Ryback to actually care whether he retires or not. I think they just, oh, this is going to be fun. They're getting the rocks off. It's equivalent to somebody in the UK throwing a beach ball around the audience. You know?
The funny part about it all is, and I'm not sure if he figured this out most of the way through the third poll or not, but he was getting views. He was getting people to look at him. So in a very strange, perverted way, it worked in his favor because people are now talking about, fuck, we're talking about Ryback on this fucking show. So it worked.
So he's getting his name out there.
Yeah.
And like, really the thing is get your name out there no matter what it is, right?
Any press is good press.
And like, maybe that's the whole point. I don't know. Maybe he's not going to retire. Maybe this is a whole thing about a debut and he's going to come out and be like, fuck all of you guys. You want me to retire? I'm going to rape, plunder, and pillage, do the whole Brian Pillman thing, become a Brian Pillman thing to your company. Like, whatever. This could be like a big fucking swerve, you know what I mean? I don't think so, because I don't think he's that smart. But somebody might be. Somebody around him might be.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if the meathead has brains. It does matter if his manager does.
Right. Exactly. Maybe he's got a filter.
Yeah. You can't lose in that point. So
look, I mean, the dude obviously made it to WWE. He's got a good fucking thing going. He looks good. He's obviously done positive things in his life. So I'm not going to outright shit on the guy, but I think he's in over his head if he thinks he's like way better than what he is.
Yeah. He's currently doing like a nutrition program style thing for
he works at GMC. Just get over it. Anyway.
I think it's a little bit less than that, but okay.
Jordan Grace 3 times with Impact. Okay. No one cares.
No one cared.
Cool.
You are correct. Jordan Grace.
Who the fuck's that?
She's a female wrestler / bodybuilder / Adam and Eve spokesperson.
Okay. Next.
Speaking of that, Chelsea Green wants to pose for Playboy and do a particular type of movie.
She should do both.
100% agree.
It's a horror movie she wants to do, but...
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. Madison Square Garden to possibly host SummerSlam.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Cool.
Are we going?
No.
Why not?
No. Paul Heyman wants the ECW audience to be inducted into the 2022 class. Hall of Fame class. New Japan announced 9 wrestlers test positive for COVID.
Uh-oh. To the shock of nobody, people in Japan are getting COVID. But the Olympics are still going on.
There's vaccines out there everywhere, though, so it's not as big as it is here right now. Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a lot of things open back up in the U.S., right?
They're getting there.
Yep.
Yeah. We're still, like, fucking shut down here for most places here in Canada. We're even operating at like a minimum capacity here in Newfoundland, so.
Toronto had a huge explosion not too long ago of cases.
Toronto and all of Alberta, all Toronto, Ontario, mostly Toronto. Some of the eastern areas we're in lockdown as well. We're safe. We're on an island. We do have some crossover, but it's been pretty safe here for the most part.
Good.
What's next?
Daniel Bryan's WWE contract expired. He does not have a no compete clause.
Did it legitimately expire?
Yep.
According to who?
FDM.
Daniel Bryan.
He said it was expired.
He said in like 5 interviews and his fucking shit ends in May.
I don't see him going anywhere. He's too.
I don't see him going anywhere either, but.
Right?
That's why I'm like, really?
It's not even really news, dude. Like, it's not going to be anything. Like, he's at that stage in his career where he's going to come back for a few matches here and there. He's definitely on the downside of his career. Who knows, man? They might put him in fucking NXT, like, and let him have the full run of what's going on there if they're trying to rebrand that and make it popular.
I could see him doing a few matches for Ring of Honor, a few matches for New Japan, and calling it a career, period.
If he is going to go anywhere, it's probably be Ring of Honor.
I know he's wanted to wrestle Jonathan Gresham. So whether or not that actually happens, who knows? maybe that's just a work that's never going to happen because he's actually resigned, and you know, you never know.
CM Punk.
Yeah, never say never, as they always say.
And
Yeah.
apparently Becky Lynch signed a new contract with WWE worth up to $1 million a year.
Not shocked.
I'm not either. I'll be interested to hear the pop when she comes back, though.
Yeah, I think they're waiting for a crowd for that.
Yeah. That it, sir?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we actually talked about this before on air, but there is a very famous female wrestling fan / valet / whatever you want to call her, named Felicia Rose. If you do not know who she is, all I have to say is face fuck me Finn, because that's how she's known. So currently she works for all sorts of different things. She's self-employed, and she was one of the people that came out and accused somebody during the speaking out movement. Well, problem is that she's now being sued. So currently there's a GoFundMe to help for her legal counsel. It's not specifically related to defamation, or not specifically related to like Joey Ryan or anything. It's somebody on this side. So I'm throwing out the link out there on our show liner notes. Check it out. If you can share it, please share it. If you can donate, please donate. This show won't make it to air by the time before her auction ends, but she's actually selling the sign that she held at Raw just to cover her legal bills. So if you can, like I said, if you can support her, go ahead. There's also many other ways you can support her. You can find those in the post that I'll be sharing on the Wrestling Show Facebook page. But that's pretty much it. So, Travis, what's your Twitter? What Twitter do you want to promote?
The most active one is the New Evolution Wrestling one. I'm very terrible at Twitter for my own personal account, so I'll leave that out. So it's at NEW Wrestling NL. So you can follow us there, and visit our website newevolutionwrestling.com, and just look us up, New Evolution Wrestling, on Facebook. We'll be the one with the neon logo. There's two there because there's actually one in New York as well. Just don't get them confused. And we're on Instagram as well. Just we're on pretty much everything, TikTok even. Yeah.
Do you have a TikTok dance that you do on the New Evolution?
No, I do not. I do not do anything with TikTok except post video clips of wrestling.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I guess I can allow that. I'm at...
More views.
What's that?
Maybe I should. I might get more views. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm at TWS Sleazy on Twitter.
TWS Fat Man.
And the show is at Sleazy Fat Man on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sleazyfatman. You can also find us on Instagram at sleazyfatman. We don't do TikTok. Probably should. You can find our subreddit here. We'll get videos of Fat Man dancing. I'm planning on that.
Good luck with that one.
You can find the subreddit at r/the wrestling show on Reddit. And of course, with thanks to Travis and for Sleazy,
For the Fat Man.
this is the wrestling show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace.
Fuck Kenny Omega.
I'm a truth that you seem to run from. I'm an army of one. I'm a clip in your gun. I'm the pain in the game. The bloodshed in your name. When there's nothing to gain, all the world goes sad.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.